Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Let's bring you up to speed with the big happenings in politics and in the polity. Let's begin with the headlines. In his two-nation trip, President Bola Tinubu arrives Brazil for the two-day state visit to South African nation, to the South American nation, to consolidate bilateral relations and signed several memoranda of understanding. Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa hosts colleagues across the continent as the defense chiefs converge on Abuja, the nation's capital. And the Sultan of Sokoto decries the state of injustice, calls for legal practitioners to uphold the rule of law and defend the common man. Thanks again for joining us on the program that gives you that access pass to what's happening in the polity and in politics right here at midday in Nigeria. And we will start off with what is ongoing as we speak, and that has to do with the convergence of the Chief of Defense staff across the continent on the nation's capital, Abuja, to find a common front to be able to defend the continent, as well outlined by the Chief of Defense Staff of Nigeria, General Christopher Musa. Let's take a listen to him.
Contemporary threats to regional peace and security in Africa, the role of strategic defense collaboration resonates strongly with many African scholars, security experts, and
your presence here is a powerful testament to our shared commitment to a more peaceful and secure Africa. Distinguished Chiefs of Defense Staff, ladies and gentlemen, today we gather at a critical juncture in our continent's history. Africa stands on the edge of unprecedented opportunity, driven by a vibrant youth population, vast resources, and a spirit of innovation. Yet, this promise is challenged by a complex and evolving spectrum of security threats. From the scourge of violent extremism and terrorism to the menace of transnational organized crime, piracy, and the insidious impacts of climate change on conflict, these challenges recognize no borders. They are hydra-headed, resilient, and demand a response that is equally dynamic, unified, and strategic. The choice of the theme of this summit, combating contemporary threats to regional peace and security in Africa, the role of defense collaboration, is both timely and pertinent. It captures the urgent need for a united action in addressing the complex and evolving security challenges confronting our continent. Consequently, this gathering offers us a rare opportunity to forge a unified front. It is a platform to harmonize our doctrines, strengthen interoperability, and build enduring trust among our defense institutions. We must therefore seize this opportunity to craft a new architecture of African-led security cooperation.
Well said. African-led security architecture needed more than ever. Let's also take you outside our shores, where President Bola Tinubu has arrived Brazil, to commence a state visit. President Tinubu, who flew in from Los Angeles, United States, was received by senior Brazilian officials at Brasilia Air Base. The Minister of State Foreign Affairs, Bianca Ojukwu, was also at the air base reception. Other ministers, heads of key government agencies, and private sector members who will participate in a string of bilateral talks and MOU signings later welcome President Bola Tinubu to his hotel. The official welcoming ceremony with full military honors is to take place at the Planalto Palace. At the Planalto, President Bola Tinubu and the President of the Federative Republic of Brasilia, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, will hold a tete-a-tete, followed by expanded bilateral meeting attended by senior officials of both governments. The leaders will witness the signing of memoranda of understandings and address a joint press conference afterwards. During the state visit, the President will meet with the President of the Brazilian Senate at the National Congress, the President of the Chamber of Deputies, and President of the Supreme Federal Court. Well, how just and fair is Nigeria's legal system? Oftentimes, it is said that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. Yet, it will appear that a lot still needs to be done for Nigerians to have full confidence in the judiciary whenever the cases are brought to the court. For this reason, the Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar, has expressed concern that justice in Nigeria is increasingly becoming a purchasable commodity where impoverished suffer, the affluent evade, and the affluent evade accountability. Speaking as a guest at the Nigerian Bar Association Annual General Conference in Enugu on Sunday, the Sultan warned that corruption and inequality are undermining the integrity of the judicial system.
Your Excellency, I would like to believe that by this theme, you wish to deliver on the expectations of society on your professional mandate. This is spot on. Today, justice is increasingly becoming purchasable commodity, and the poor are becoming victims of miscarriage of justice, while the rich commit all matters of crime and walk the streets scot-free. That by this theme, you are resolving to out and toll on the scale of justice is certainly highly commendable. In other words, you are resolving to uphold the highest principles of the rule of law, precisely to ensure that everyone, including those in power, are subject to and accountable under the law, and that the law is applied fairly and equally so that no one operates above the law. If you are able to do this, you would have addressed the core of the crisis of governance in this country.
And now let's move to some political conversation playing out in Benue State, where lawmakers in the State Assembly during an emergency plenary have elected Mr. Alfred Berger, representing Makurdi North, as the new speaker following the resignation of Mr. Andona Dajo. The session presided over by the Deputy Speaker, Mrs. Lami Ogenyi, first suspended House rules to allow the process of electing a replacement. Mr. Berger was recently recalled. From suspension, emerged as the new speaker.
Lawmakers arrive in the chambers in Makurdi for an unusual plenary following a peace meeting at the government house. The session is coming after the resignation of former Speaker Andona Dago and the earlier suspension of Honorable Alfred Berger and 4 others. The Deputy Speaker, who presided as Majority Leader, moved to suspend House rules and recall Honorable Berger and 3 others believed to be backed by Governor Hyacinth Alia.
That the House lift the suspension of the following members to readmit them for legislative duties. They are Honorable Alfred Berger, Mbegam, Makurdi North State Constituency, Honorable Tena Shimawa Emmanuel, Vandika 2 State Constituency, Honorable Siri Ejebe Ekong, Oju 2 State Constituency, and Right Honorable Abu Moro James, Apa State Constituency.
Next, lawmakers unanimously nominate and elect Honorable Berger as Speaker.
Therefore, my honor to nominate our colleague, our brother, who is a bridge builder and a leader, Honorable Berger Alfred Mbega, who represents the northern side of Makurdi, to the office of the Speaker of the 10th Benue State House of Assembly at this time in history.
I will not allow my personal interests.
The member immediately takes an oath of office with a promise to work in unity with other members of the House.
I stand before you today with a deep sense of humility and responsibility. Following my election as Speaker of this Honorable House, I acknowledge the wealth of this office and the expectations of our people, who look up to us to provide sound laws, effective oversight, and quality representation. I wish to sincerely appreciate my predecessor, Right Honorable Auduna Hysen Tajo, for his service and commitment to the progress of this House and to the people of Benue State.
Addressing journalists immediately after the session, the Benue State APC chairman hailed the peaceful conduct of the lawmakers, saying democracy and unity has prevailed.
As you know, today there's a new change of leadership in the House, and I first want to congratulate Honorable Bega Afraid for having been accepted and widely been elected by the members of the House.
The situation at the Benue House of Assembly appears to be calm for now, after 22 of the 32 members of the House had at different times suffered suspension in the last 1 year.
Let's now bring in our guest, who is the Majority Whip in the Benue State House of Assembly. Joining us virtually is Honorable Peter Iposo. Honorable Iposo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
So help us make sense of what has played out in quick succession. Just on Friday, which is barely 72 hours plus ago, we saw the new speaker and 3 other members suspended because of allegations or the story to the effect that the night before they convert to impeach the speaker, Mr. Dajo. And then by Sunday, things have changed quickly. The same member that was suspended was reinstated with orders, and now is a new speaker. What exactly are we looking at that we're not seeing?
Suspension is a way of correcting ourselves. It's a measure that we use in the State House of Assembly. When you know that there's trouble, you try to make ensure that you come together and you resolve issues. They were suspended on Friday, and immediately they were suspended. They showed some remorse. They came back and apologized to the House, and major stakeholders intervened, where we had a peaceful meeting and we conducted ourselves properly. So any child who sins and confesses his sins, and a good father or a good parent will usually forgive them. So we are a family. We are together, and so immediately they acknowledge that somehow members felt that they offended them, they apologized. They were welcomed back as a family. We reunited ourselves, and we moved back for the great betterment of Benue State.
You want Nigerians to believe that this is just a minor. So let me play it for you exactly what played out. The allegation was that they were trying to impeach the speaker. What happened to that allegation?
Yeah, it is good that you said allegations. It were mere allegations. And so when we sat as a house, we discussed and we made peace with ourselves. So it was just allegations. They had nowhere to be proven. So we agreed and discussed within ourselves and saw that they were actually just allegations.
So an entire House of Assembly will hold the responsibility of overseeing and oversighting representation and legislation builds a suspension on 4 members by mere allegation before realizing they were not true. Is that what you're telling us?
You said oversight. So we also oversighted them.
No, that's not my question. I'm just saying, I'm just reeling out your tripartite responsibility, the seriousness of your tripartite responsibility. On one hand, oversight, representation, and legislation. That is the tripartite responsibility of every lawmaker. I'm saying as serious and as detailed as that responsibility is, you went on to suspend members by mere allegation, that on something as serious and impeaching a speaker. That's what my question is. How do you want us to believe that?
Yeah, you will see that, and you agree with me too that impeachment is a very serious move, and when you hear such allegations, you don't take it for granted. You act strictly so that it will not go far. So we don't joke with impeachment. So when you hear that, and in order to allow peace to get into the House, you need to put them aside for you to come back and put your heads together and see where the trouble is coming from. That's exactly what happened. They were suspended on the fact that there were allegations of impeachment. And so I also spoke on that day and said it would be wrong for our members to think of impeaching the speaker. And so we suspended them to pave way for us to have peaceful coexistence and peaceful talk within ourselves in order to be able to arrive at the best decisions that we did. I think it's exactly what happened.
Another question that comes to mind is whether or not this House of Assembly is indeed independent, because we know how rocky this administration came on
Yes,
board.
I want to quickly tell you that the House of Assembly, the Benue State House of Assembly, is completely independent. Completely independent. I can assure you of that.
It's not by the rhetorics or the answer you give to me. So let's look at all of the actions. The number of rounds it took for us to even get a speaker, we followed this story critically. I think it took about 2 to 3 rounds, if my memory serves me well, because the governor's enclave wanted, the Judge Akume enclave wanted. We know all of this division. And then there's been the ruffled, topsy-turvy situation between the governor and Judge Akume, the SGF, and it goes on and on and on. The issue of local government, and then the issue of appointment, the issue of vehicles back and forth. So we've seen the rough edges around all of this. So would you say that Mr. Andona Dajo actually resigned voluntarily, or this was a situation that was beyond his control, that his fellow lawmakers were not able to defend his position?
I wouldn't know, and I want to disagree with you completely, that the governor of Benue State has a misunderstanding with the SGF. As far as I'm concerned, and to the best of my knowledge presently, they are in good working relationship. We inaugurated in 2023. During the elections, during our inauguration, the governor came in, inaugurated us, and you know, as a priest who was coming in for the first time into politics, he sat down there to see the process, at least how it is done. He didn't sit there because he wanted a preferred candidate to win. We voted. The fact that he sat there didn't change the mind of any legislator in casting out a vote for whoever he or she desired to be the speaker. He sat there, and after he saw that this is how the process is done, and after some time, he took his leave. Legislators went into their mind, discussed among themselves, and find out that Hyacinth Ondonadajo was the best man to be the speaker at that time. We have supported him. We have given him all it takes for him to succeed. At this point, he just resigned. It is not the first time that the speaker is resigning in the Benue State House of Assembly. If you recall, in the 7th Assembly, that's around 2014, a former speaker resigned, and the legislators elected a new speaker. So it's not the first time. He said he just resigned not because he had any pressure from anywhere, not because the SGF and the governor's camp are fighting. To the best of my knowledge, I don't see any of them fighting. His Excellency, I'm not speaking for him, but I know that he relates with the SGF anytime he wants. And we are colleagues, we are one family united in that house. If you come to the Benue State House of Assembly, you wouldn't know who is PDP, you wouldn't know who is APC, you wouldn't even know who is, we don't have SGF and governor's camp in the State House of Assembly. We are one people, we are one family. We unite ourselves to be able to get better results for Benue people.
Honorable, no one is trying to drag the governor in, but we all know that governors, I'm sorry to say, the way it is perceived most of the time is that houses of assembly are clear appendages of the governor. We've seen this over and over. You guys can come and deny and say it's not true. That's fine. It's your position. But we see what we see as Nigerians. We look, because there are expectations that are the expectations from the citizens that we don't get to see. And we just saw what happened with Kogi State, for instance, and the videos that have been going around. So there are so many things going on. But staying with the issue of the governor and the speaker, we understand there were issues around some vehicles that were supposed to be given. There were issues around some appointments that were declined in terms of his appointing some commissioners that they were not confirmed. What do you make of those nuances that are around the corner?
Yes, I am in the leadership of the 10th Assembly, and I can tell you for free that the House of Assembly have no issue. The former speaker have no issue have no personal issue or have no issue with the executive governor of Benue State. At the time of his resignation, I can tell you, and you can take my words to the bank, that they have a good working relationship at the time that the speaker was resigning. Of course, at the time when we inaugurated, some members got vehicles. And apart from, before the resignation, the governor has provided the remaining members with the vehicles that were pending. On the nomination and screening of commissioners, we're doing our best. It's still ongoing. There are issues that came from few members, about 2 of them that were not confirmed. The governor has no personal interest in any of the candidates. So we did our work, and we saw that at that time that they were nominated, there were petitions who came. There are petitions that came to the State House of Assembly regarding those candidates. And we discussed with them at the floor. It was open. Our sittings are carried on live. We asked them few questions, and the answers we got were not satisfactory, and that's why they were not confirmed. So the speaker couldn't have had problem with the governor because he didn't confirm few members of his nominations for commissioner, or because members are not provided with vehicle. Today, let me tell you, the executive governor of Benue State has just brought in 2,025 Prado Jeeps for the remaining members who didn't get at that time. So it's not what will lead to the misunderstanding of the governor and the speaker that will warrant his resignation. That's not at all.
Honorable member, we will continue to check in with you. You know, you're politicians. You do what politicians do. By the end of the day, we'll get to see the results when it happens. But we wish the House well. Congratulations to Alfred Berger. And by the way, how come he was suspended? Just a moment before I let you go, sir. My apologies. Just before, in addition to what you want to say, so what informed the choice of Alfred? Because it was Alfred that perhaps was leading the whatever it was that was alleged against them to try to impeach Dajo. And now, is this a reward for his bravery? What exactly happened with the choice of Alfred Berger?
I don't understand what you mean by reward, but any of the legislators sitting there can be speaker because you're just first among the equal. And so members feel at this time that he should be the speaker. I wanted to tell you that in government, you know, you have the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive. People expect that always the legislators should be fighting with the executive. No, we don't do that. And so when you have a good working relationship, people tend to say you are working under the governor's directives. No, it is because we want development and progress for our state. So we have chosen the path of having a good working relationship with the both arms of government, both at the judiciary and at the executive arm of government. So we want to give Benue people the best. And because the man who is the governor today has not deviated from his campaign promises of providing good governance for the state, there's no reason why we should be having crisis to distract him. We have allowed him to give us the best of what he has so that there will be no distractions at all. Thank you very much.
All right, Honorable, we will need the fight sometimes, not because of optics, but because they need to be checked. They are human beings. Benue is suffering from insecurity. I could go on and on. You, the members of the House, need to put feet on the fire of the governor or any other governor. That's why we elected you into the House. But we will take your position. Thank you for coming on the program. Peter Iposu, Majority Whip, Benue State House of Assembly. Wish you guys the very best.
Thank you very much.
And just before we go, let's tell you about the president of the South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters, that's a political party in South Africa, Julius Malema, calling on African leaders to dismantle colonial boundaries and, of course, pursue continental unity under a single president, currency, and parliament, even a military command. Let's take a listen to him.
Together, Nigeria and South Africa can lead African continent free trade area, not as a paper agreement, but as a living reality that changes the lives of ordinary people. We must never allow the imperialist forces to divide us in order to take our minerals from us. We demand one Africa. We demand borderless Africa. We demand Africa with one president, with one currency, with one military command, with one parliament, because We know the currency of Africa will be much more stronger against the American currency. We don't care what Trump thinks of us. He will never choose a policy position for Africans. We are not subject of Trump. We must refuse to be subjects of Trump. We must stand together as the world changes and show the world that Africa is one and Africa is equal to all nations, to China, to Russia, to America. We are not just a small nation. We are a big nation. We are not a dark continent. How can we be dark when we've got diamond that is shining amongst us? We are a shining nation. I thank you.
The words of the fiery, radical, revolutionary leader of the EFF in South Africa speaking at the Nigerian Bar Association conference that is taking place in Enugu State. That's it on the program. Thank you for your time and, of course, your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.